So we're here in San Francisco, and we just witnessed early this morning, actually for us, it was about 1 a.m. when it happened. Eliud Kipchoge broke the 2-hour barrier for men's marathon, and Dr. Romanov spent some time analyzing it since his last attempt 2 years ago. What did you find?
Before I will tell what I found, I would say that this sleepless night was most wonderful thing I experienced long time. This long time expectation since I start do that research and study of his running brought to this point. We were waiting this. Obviously, it was not sure it will happen or not, but I already had my calculations. It showed that it's very likely, the probability will be very big that he will make it. But I didn't want to talk about make it before it happened. So we just were watching, and it happened. I still under impression of this run, and it's kind of difficult now move to the technical stuff because its emotions are going on, because he did something changing history of this event, and for years to come to have different perception of what marathon is and how to run it.
Well, one of the big takeaways for me was that he managed to keep a 250 pace, practically the entire 250 per kilometer, the entire time. And why do you think that was the magic number, and why didn't it fluctuate more than it did?
In a deep sense, it's not about 250. It goes beyond the 250. It's the outcome, because behind this is a physical reality, which we not often talk about this, but this is what my study about. When I studied him first time in Monza track, when he set up this first attempt, and then world record in Berlin last year, it was very clear what we're looking for, really. 250 pace, it's a just consequence. It's a derivative from something else, and it's something else is a more profound components of running speed, which is stride length, what is traditional point of view, cadence, step cadence, and what we develop in pose method is angle of falling. That was a distinctive point. I took liberty to predict what it's supposed to be to make this happen, and he was right in the point.
So give us the exact numbers. What was he in Monza, and what did he just run, and what was your prediction? In a way of look at these numbers, it could be imperceptible. It's so small margin of improvement, but this is what leads us to that next step of jumping to the next level of performance and perception. When he ran Monza track, his 2 hours 25 seconds, I put these calculations, which is analysis step by step, like each kilometer, like cadence per minute, stride length, again related with this speed, and angle of falling. What I came with, it was numbers, I don't know how to call it. It's 185 steps per minute. Stride length was 1 meter 87 centimeters, and angle of falling 16.93. This is what benchmark. Based on that numbers, I calculated possible breakthrough of 2 hours, and put it in prediction. I guess we will put this article in motion, and we will see this table of comparison of these numbers. And today I calculated quickly after that performance what he done, and it was amazingly good prediction, and I was incredibly pleased that numbers what I calculated was very close to what he had in this performance. Very cool.
my thought was I paid special attention to something they said at the midpoint of the race, where they mentioned how he almost felt lonely on the track, where you couldn't hear, there was a Tesla in front of him, so you couldn't hear anything. You could hear a pin drop, and they made a special mention of the 25,000 plus people in Vienna, and how he enjoyed the crowd and how that propelled him to continue to stay strong and not lose sight and not lose focus. And I remember it's very similar to what Roger Bannister did when he broke the 4-minute mile. He did it in front of 3,000 attendees of that event. So what factor do you think the crowd and their hopes and desires and applause had for him?
As a former athlete, I would say that crowd is a little bit overestimated, because when you're going to achieve something, crowd disappeared. You do not hear anything really. It's a really lonely condition. It's a Zen kind of condition. You do not hear anything. You do not hear any advice. People thinking that advice kind of helpful thing. No, it's already predisposed before. Athlete of this kind, he already made it up things. The tunnel what he goes through, it's already set up long time ago. This is what great about this guy. He is incredible athlete because he could predict, anticipate this thing and channel himself on that direction. Incredibly strong and incredibly precise. This is what all opinions, what people talk about him, is telling, that he is a king of philosopher in sports. He is fearless. He doesn't afraid anyone, and he is incredibly focused on his performance. And it's not loneliness. It's a incredible dedication to what he is doing.
Okay, well, any recommendations to our audience about what to look for in his performance? And
I would profoundly advise to look his running technique. He is in own field alone. No one who was pacing him there, or his countrymen who running Kenyans as well, not matching his technique. It puzzled me and long time, because I start do analysis of his performance from 2012 when he was running on 5-10 Ks, and he was not yet known. And when he came to the marathon field, this technique became crucial. He had no injuries over these years.
makes a big difference.
Right. And this is technique, not anything else. And one more note inside this many other things about him, that he has no exceptional physiological abilities. It was a science done research by labs in Nike, and they found no any exceptional data on him. He's kind of same Kenyan guy, but
They can't measure what's up here.
yes.